The viewers watch it all over the world, but the question of cruelty remains.
Now, the past 20 years have been the race's deadliest period, some would say. Last year alone, the deaths of 2 horses caused a public outcry. And ahead of tomorrow's Aintree Grand National, animal welfare campaigners are calling for the race to be banned. So that's our question today, should it? We've got racing pundit John McCririck here, who says no, of course. If we ban the sport, thoroughbred horses will become extinct. And joining him is Dene Stansall. He's a horse racing consultant, and he believes the National is an outdated and dangerous death trap. Don't forget, we'd like to get you involved as well. You can vote on our worm. You'll see it at the bottom of the screen. Go to our website and let us know who you agree with. You'll see the worm moving, and we'll let you know what you think at the end. Morning to you both. I know what you're going to say, John, but I want to start with Dene first. I think, Dene, the whole thing with the National is, I find it very exciting, the build-up. You know, I've joined the sweepstake at work today, but I have to say I do watch it a little bit like this, behind closed fingers, because of the amount of horses that fall. But does that warrant it being banned?
It certainly does. What we tend to see when the cameras follow the race in the Grand National is the front runners. What we don't see are those fallen horses at the back who are laid there with broken necks, with broken legs, broken backs, as has happened in the past 2 years. Horses that have fallen at Beecher's Brook in the Fourth Fence, they've laid there, and the cameras have not looked at those horses because the public would be disgusted, they would be put off, and they would not put their money on that race.
If they were so disgusted and put off, and the race has been going for 165 years, people watch it, millions of people around the world, we all bet on it. If people were so disgusted and outraged, why do we still watch it? Why do people still attend? Why do we still place a bet?
I think there's a big media push to promote the Grand National. There's a lot of commercial interest in there, and I think that it's money talking rather than the welfare of horses being paramount. So what we've got to do is strip back all this gloss, all this glory, all this prize money, and say, what are we actually putting these animals through? We're putting them through hell when they're on that race course, and times are changing.
It does look like hell sometimes, John. I mean, you see them, the amount of horses, 40 in the race, I think, isn't it? You know, when they're crowding to those fences, especially something like Beecher's Brook, you know, that does make me wince when I watch them, so many of them fall.
Think of how many changes there have been. There used to be a brick wall there, there used to be a ploughed field. Up to 1960, the fences were stiff and upright. Now they're sloping, the changes have been made, breaches have been almost levelled off. I agree with Dene, it should be levelled off completely. There's lots of things Dene and I could agree on, but banning the Grand National, let's get that quite clear. You then ban all steeplechases, because horses die then, hurdle races and the flat. You kind of people, the animal aid, are murderers. Because in the end, no, don't laugh, it's not funny. You are condemning the thoroughbred shut up! You're condemning the thoroughbred as a species. They would not be kept alive if there was no racing. You want to ban racing, that's the end of the thoroughbred.
OK, John, if racing really cares about these horses...
If they, of course they care.
Why did he put 1,127 through the slaughterhouses last year for human consumption?
Of course they care.
Because the racing industry does not care. It leaves horses that have brief careers in racing to a free market.
It is a separate issue. About 90% of horses, we know what happens to them, and they are looked after. Of course there's a problem with horses after they finish, as with greyhounds.
OK,
of course there's a problem.
What happens to a racehorse is conscripted, like you're going into the army. If you don't conform, you're very quickly out, you're left to a free market. When you're in racing, you're hit with a whip to get the maximum out of you. You're made to jump arduous fences in the Grand National. It really is. This really is... I would say animal cruelty.
But we agree.
What about human cruelty? What about, I mean, would you put the life of the horse over the jockey? I mean, no one seems to talk about jockey safety and all of this.
That's an interesting point, Eamon. If we look at the past 5 years, 945 horses have died on British racecourses in 5 years. Not one jockey's died, but I know, I feel very sorry...
0.2%.
No, but it's still 945 horses that we can name.
If you didn't have racing, they wouldn't die, would they?
If you did that, no, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
but let's talk about jockeys. Jockeys' lives are also being put at risk by the Grand National and on other racecourses. We've got JT McNamara in hospital at the moment because the racing industry needs to get its house in order so jockeys as well as horses are not injured and killed.
But they have modified the course, haven't they, John? So they are listening. They're listening.
And I'm saying to all people now who are watching us on this morning, what ideas you've got, give them to British Horse Racing Authority, give them to Aintree. Dean and I can agree on several things. We shouldn't be whipping horses. It's unacceptable in the name of sport to whip horses. So we've got to do away with the whip, keep it for
What
steering
about the
purposes.
amount of horses, John, I mentioned there?
Yes.
We've got the Chief Executive of the RSPCA, Gavin Grant. He said he's praised some of the changes as a big step forward for horse welfare, but he says he still has concerns, Beecher's Brook being one of them, and the number of runners.
Yes,
still 40
maximum 40.
horses.
There were 66 in 1929. It is down to 40, but then if we gave way at 40, it'd be 30, it'd be 20, it'd be 10. Horses die in 3-runner races on the flat. So you're going to have accidents all the time. But the one point we've got to make about these people is here. You need deaths tomorrow. The legal... No,
John,
wait.
that is
You need... No, it's true.
We had a death yesterday. We don't need any more deaths, John.
You need
There was a
it
death
for your
yesterday, John,
campaigns. If no horse dies, it's a disaster for you.
I tell you what,
so you're
John,
there with
I
your
would like to
machines.
go away,
You're
John.
there with your notebooks.
I would like to go away and do a different job and make a lot of money. But I'm passionate about horses and saving
So
horses'
Dane,
lives.
Tomorrow, when we get to when they go under starters' orders, will you watch that race? I mean, you watch it professionally, I presume.
I will watch it professionally.
And what do you feel that the normal viewer doesn't feel? Is it a sickness within you that?
It is. I used to watch I went to the Grand National as a boy. My grandfather was a bookmaker at Aintree, interestingly enough. So I've watched it for many years. One time a day I thought it was exciting, fabulous, you know, all these horses falling. What a spectacle. But now it's a disgusting animal abuse. It really is. Seeing a horse fall is not nice.
I've begun to think, I mean, and John, I know you care about these animals. And
everybody in racing does, Eamon.
Yeah.
They care as much as you care, quite rightly so.
From when I was a small child, there were 2 events in the sporting calendar. One was the FA Cup final, and the other was the Grand National. The Grand National was the bigger, better spectacle because you didn't have everybody could get involved. With the FA Cup, you had to support one of the teams really to be involved in it. Then, as a reporter, I was lucky enough to be able to report on it and stand to watch it as a spectacle. Stand by Beecher's Brook. It's probably the most awesome sight and sound that I have ever experienced in life. But I then became an animal owner, and I began to think differently about this. What is the answer? Does it have a future?
Oh, of course it has a future, but it doesn't have a future if he has his way, and nor does a thoroughbred. That's what you've got to think about. They ban the Grand National, they ban all other racing, the thoroughbreds put down forever. So you will be watching the race tomorrow, counting the fallers, looking for the shots that have got and how many animals are dead, and then giving out your press releases. Your banners will be going up. You need death.
No, John.
Yes, what you want.
There was a death, John. There was a death yesterday.
That was a heart attack, a horse that can happen at any
the
time.
horse had hit a few fences going round.
It happen at any time.
When a horse his chest is hit into a fence, as on the Grand National course, they do get heart attacks.
Quite rightly, they've modified the fences.
Excuse me.
Let's see the way this... can we show this worm during the
I'm
the
not
programme?
confident here, Eamon.
Can you read
I'm not
that?
hopeful here.
What way is that reading?
62% for Dean, who agree that it should be
Okay.
banned.
Well, let's ask the people, do you who agree there want to ban horse racing? That's the question you've got to ask.
The question,
Yes,
John,
it
is do we ban
It's
the
a
Grand
question.
National?
No,
The
it's
question
not.
is the Grand National,
Yes,
not
no, that's
the public
one.
will decide about
That's
horse
the
racing.
first one. Then you
as
get
they will about
Cheltenham,
Grand
you get the
National.
Gold Cup, then you get steeplechasing, hurdle. You don't stop. You
have
people,
to take...
you are unappeasable. You will always stop, and
No,
horses
John,
will always
I am-
die on racecourses.
Animal Aid's opinion is that you need to take away the regulation of horse welfare. Then you need to take away self-regulation and give it to an independent body.
Just before we give you final
Put
result,
your ideas forward.
let's hear what people are saying about this morning with Matt in the hub, and then we'll give you the reveal of the worm after this. Matt.
Right, understandably, everybody's talking about this back home. Now, this is people who think, yes, it should be banned. Now, Bobby Louise Willis, poor horses shouldn't have to die for people to gain money. End of story. Julie Williams, yes, it should be banned. The fences are way too high for the horses to jump over. It's cruel for those beautiful horses. And these are people who think, no, it shouldn't be banned. Now, Corey Spence, it's a major race. I work at the betting shop, and horses die every day in regular races, so the National is no different. Let's not forget, it's a fun day for all. And finally, Amy Bray, I'm a horse lover and no, it shouldn't be banned. It's a tradition and something people may love to watch and bet on. Thank you very much for your comments.
If we put the same vote, the same question to horse racing fans, because I suspect you've got more animal lovers or occasional watchers this morning, the vote is 62% of people watching this morning agree with Dean, they think it should be banned. Do you think the vote would be different amongst race goers?
Oh, of course it would. Totally different, but that's not the point. 62% is a very worrying figure. If 62% of the nation, if this is a sample of the nation, Dean has done a tremendous job with his propaganda, and the fact is racing is in real trouble now, because whatever happens now, even if there's no deaths tomorrow, which Dean, of course, needs for the publicity campaign, if there isn't any deaths, next year they'll be back.
Okay.
And the public will be given these lies. That means you do away with the Grand National, all thoroughbreds. Do they want the end of the thoroughbred as a species?
Okay, guys, we've got to stop it there. Thank you. And indeed, whether you agree with him or not, it's very nice to see John McCririck here, because we thought you were going to have to be put down earlier in the year. So very
Lots
good
of people
to see
were hoping for it. You haven't asked me for a tip. Quickly, I want your tips for the Grand National.
Yes, Imperial, what's it name?
Imperial Commander, the top weight. That's what you are, an Imperial Commander. I couldn't say you're top weight. I won't say that. Come on, your tip?
I've got, what have I got in the sweepstake? Sunny Hill boy.
Sunny Hill, last year's runner. Kappa Blur's the one.
If you do
Kappa
win,
Blur.
would you give your money to a racehorse sanctuary for horses who've been cast
We work
out?
for Heroes. We work for the
know
charity
Grace
Heroes.
at Heroes.
I work for Greatwood. I work for Greatwood when they looked after retired racehorses, do a tremendous job. Help us. If we in racing don't help through our own charities, no one else will.
Well, thank you both, and thank you for your comments. I think this debate might go on for a little while.